Hello, welcome back to Search Sean, and this is another of those weekly digital marketing news episodes. And it's only the second ever version of this, so we're trying to see how it goes. But I'm again joined by some great guests today, co-host, and looking forward to getting into it. As it is only like the second time, I will kind of remind you of the format because I'm still getting used to it. But obviously, first of all, we've got introductions, like who we are and what we do. Then we go to top stories. So again, I have to stress, it's not like the usual, just the top stories, like the ones that are making mainstream news, or they could be some of those. But it's just ones we find interesting. Top videos, so things we've watched in the last week or so that we find interesting. And then the top kind of social posts that we found interesting as well across all the different social platforms from X to LinkedIn. And as usual, all the links and stories covered in the show will be I've got like this shared document I'm putting them all into now, so if you ever want to go and refer back to stories and read it or watch the video, that's where you can find them all. So do go and check that out, and you'll see all the past shows as well, stuff in there. So cool. All right, well, let's get on to the intros. And hopefully you know me by now, but I'm Sean, the host of this channel and the SEO manager at Macmillan Cancer Support. And I'll pass it on to Nick.
First of all, before I introduce myself, I have to say I really love that new intro. It's really cool. And a highlight, you've had some really good people on this show. But I'm Nicola Aegis. I'm the SEO and Discover Director at Reach PLC. We're a big publisher for titles like the Daily Mirror, Daily Express, Daily Star, Manchester Evening News. I think 60 odd titles, and I won't reel them all off now.
Nice. Harry?
Hello, I'm Harry. I'm the SEO Director at Telegraph's editorial commercial ventures. That's kind of like Nick said.
Sweet. And Laura?
Hi, I'm Laura Yanku. I'm the SEO growth for Octopus Energy, and in my spare time, I'm trying to build an online glossary for all things search marketing called SearchPilot.
And not to be confused with Grokkipedia.
Yes, not the same thing.
I was going to say, before we go further, Laura, you guys have saved me quite a lot of money on my energy bills when we switched to our. No, it's not directly thanks to you, but we were being royally screwed beforehand, so it's much better. Thank you.
No worries.
And there are other providers are available because we're not sponsored, but
yeah. But we're also not the BBC, I guess. So I guess we don't have to name everybody.
Fair enough.
Of course. Interesting. Nick, what was your top story of this week?
Well, the story that I found most interesting this week is a new study that claims CTR is now at an all-time low across Google search. But what I really liked about this study is that, unlike those before it, it's not just saying it's all because of AI overviews. And before I do kind of dive into it, I just wanted to point out that it was conducted by the SEO agency SEO Interactive, which is run by a name that you might be familiar with, Will Reynolds. So he's a big voice in our community. So according to this study, CTR has dropped 61% since mid-2024 for informational queries. So that's important if you work for a publisher. And then additionally, CTR has also dropped 68% for that same period for paid search. So it's across the board. We're seeing a dip, quite significant dip in CTR. But what was really interesting about this study was that it found that CTR was down 41% on queries, even when AI overviews aren't present. So we can't just blame AI overviews for this drop in CTR that we are seeing across the board here. So the big question here, where there's been a lot of debate recently within our community, is that traffic coming back? And if not, what do we do about it? Does anyone have any answers?
Oh, I guess it's a tough question, right?
Yeah.
I saw that Will did a really good social post on that, because they did the same study like a year ago and then redid it, didn't they? To be like, because I thought it was interesting, because you sort of get stuck in like the bubble, don't you, of search and like being a bit more techy or whatever. And there's like a marketing lens to it, but you get very SEO focused. Like you kind of forget that this actually has quite broad reaching impact, particularly on like, if you're a company who does a lot of SEO, does a lot of PPC, like your overall maybe your lifetime value for a customer goes down. Maybe it's more expensive to get traffic and conversions from everywhere. So now we're having to spend more. Not only do we get less in search, but we have to spend more on paid channels. So there's like, we get a bit isolated and stuck in our own world. But I think if you take it apart from that and you speak to other channels, you'll be like, everyone's having a bit of a shit on.
Yeah.
It's not very fun in some ways.
And I do think we're doing ourselves a little bit of a disservice if we just continuously just solely blame AI. And I think also user behavior is changing. The way that we consume content is changing. It's not just, editorial now. I think, if you look at Google search or even Google Discover at the minute, Google's giving a lot more visibility to user generated content and video content. So I think we need to think outside the box beyond editorial, because when Google makes those changes, it's not necessarily just because Google wants to, it's because that's what it thinks the user wants.
I was going to say, did you see they did, a few people complained about it recently as well, but they changed how PPC ads were shown. So instead of showing ads above all of them, I'm sure none of this exists in a vacuum, right? Like it's way more expensive for them to serve an AI overview, way more expensive to serve AI mode. So all of this is, I presume, got you some cost pressures on it where they're like, screw it, let's just manipulate things a bit more.
Yeah. But with that, is that a good user experience?
Absolutely. To be fair, that's sort of what I was going to point at. What I found quite useful in recovering a lot of the informational queries that we would have lost in the beginning of the year was sort of getting a bit more personal with the customer relation team and find out exactly what our customers were itching to know. And serve that kind of content and find, obviously collaborating with the content team to find the right type of content format for the user rather than the search engine. And then if it matches the search engine, perfect. If not, I care more about the user. So that's sort of the approach rather than thinking, do I need to write a blog about, I don't know, XYZ that's 1,200 words and it's got HQs about X, Y, and Z. Why not find out the type of content that's most efficient for the query? So that was sort of my approach to this, and I think it's going great, to be fair. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's doing something about it. It's not just shutting my eyes and hope it's going to sort itself out. That's kind of my approach to it.
I think that the days of shutting our eyes and hoping it works out with search might be a little bit behind us. Might not be a bad thing, like you said. I think there's a lot of I think we're doing it. You see lots of other people doing it, but doing stuff where you say creating content genuinely for somebody and not just be I'd probably do well in search. This is easy. You work for a big publisher over the last 10 years. You've normally ranked pretty well. It's kind of got harder and harder. Obviously, Google's eaten most of that, but it has made us be okay, who are our audience? Where are they? What do they want? It has kind of forced our hand a little bit. So I'm not all doom and gloom about this. I do think if you do it well, or if we do it well, there's still good stuff that can. It's not so search focused.
And like Nick said, my own behavior is changing. If I want to find out to do something on a car, I'm not going to go to a blog anymore. I'm not going to go to a website. I'm going to go to YouTube straight away. I'm not even going to go to Google at all. I know they own YouTube, but I'm going to go straight to YouTube. And also, if I've got an issue with Descript or any of these tools I use for this show, I'm going to go straight to a large language model like ChatGPT. I'm not going to go to Google and type it in there. So, people are just changing. And I do believe, it's hard to believe much that Google come out with these days, but I do believe that more people are searching more than ever because of the tools and everything we have. It's all built around search, everything we have. But whether they're going to Google is another question. It's fragmented. They're going everywhere. So, it's really interesting. I guess, Harry, what was your kind of top story of the week?
I tell you what this has done as well for me, Sean, is it's really forced me to share more stuff. So I'm right, when I see something, I'm going to share it so I remember what it was. I'm going to be good. But there was a Press Gazette who do, if you're in publishing, you see this stuff all the time, but Press Gazette have a really good Substack, create a lot of really good content, and they did one around Reddit and how to work with it if you're a publisher. And it was an interview with their head of news partnerships. And obviously what they just brought out like Reddit Pro Tools for publishers and businesses, so you can try and figure out a little bit more about Reddit. But the sort of tone of it was a bit like, look, this can be useful, but you can also destroy your brand pretty quickly here if you don't know what you're doing, which I quite like as a sort of tones. Like the first line of it, for example, was the editors should treat Reddit like they're showing up at a cocktail party, according to the platform head of news partnerships, which so they're basically like, come in, add to the vibe, don't promote yourself too much. It's like, this is how this works. So they were talking about, it's like much less about the self-promotional mindset, and it's more about like just adding value in this channel to people's lives. And that's what I think a really hard thing to do. And I think what we'll see, if we're not already seeing it, we don't do a load of stuff on Reddit, but we have a couple of areas, like we do a lot about the Ukraine-Russia war and a couple other bits where we're like relatively involved. And some of that stuff does quite well. Like it doesn't lead to a lot of clicks, but it is a decent brand building exercise, and it does make the right people aware of what you're doing. But yeah, they're talking about how hungry Redditors are for news, but how difficult it can be. So I thought it's quite a cool article. And obviously they're trying to promote their kind of Pro Tools version that you can use. But as I think more companies and people try to get more value out of it, I definitely think there'll be a lot of small little errors that come up that are like pretty damaging. It should be quite fun to watch, as long as I don't have to deal with anything, obviously.
And it's really easy for publishers in particular to get a telling off from Reddit. You can get banned or removed temporarily quite easily.
Yeah, someone did it the other way. Someone who works in SEO, I can't remember who it was, who was talking. I think he works for Site Checker. I've forgotten his name, but he would basically answer the question that was about what tools do people use, and he mentioned like 6 or 7 others as an alternative to something, but also mentioned Site Check, and he was like, "I do work here, by the way," but they banned him from the SEO channel for saying it. It's like, you got to be a bit wary, I think.
But I think Reddit is something that SEOs really need to pay attention to. I think we were at Nest recently and John Shahata gave some statistics. I think YouTube might be the most visible platform in search or discover. And then I think Reddit might be second, something like that. It's very high up. So yeah, it's very high up. So, and where Google is very much prioritizing user generated content, I think it's really important for SEOs to stay on top of platforms like Reddit.
Yeah, and to not ruin it.
Yeah.
Good point. Don't ruin it.
Kind of, I was gonna.
Yeah, no, absolutely. To be fair, I was thinking this is one of the hot topics right now in my office. I know there's a lot of like SEO platforms releasing their stats out there, like who's the most quoted or cited in LLMs, and obviously Reddit was like number one, like something like 70 or 80%, and then it was YouTube and so on. And I've been a Redditor since I can remember. Like probably I was a teenager when I first got into Reddit. Like if you see my karma there is the insane levels. And I was just thinking, like back in the day, it was kind of easier to sort of trust what you saw on Reddit. No, I don't know if it was the sheer volume of what was shared or the way it was delivered. Whereas nowadays, if I see brand names in Reddit, I'm just like by default a bit suspicious. So it's just a tough one. It's like how, especially if you're a big brand, like how do you go about, building a community on Reddit without sounding too selly? So I was actually curious how the sort of like best practices, if you like, around this, if you've got any tips or tricks or anything like that.
I suppose it's like, so I'm not a big user of Reddit. I never have been, even though I do quite appreciate what it does. But I think you're definitely right in terms of there are certain things you search for, right? When you're like, actually, this would be really good to get somebody's opinion on. And that's why it always makes sense. I think you have Reddit somewhere in there. But I think if you're a brand, you just got to be prepared to be like, this is going to take potentially years to get this right. And a lot of it is like, it's not really about the brand. It's about the individuals who work for the brand, which is all about like that creative culture and people trusting people of like inherently like you. If I see a brand in Reddit, like unless it's negative, I don't know if I'm trusting this. So I think it's really difficult because people want to see like return on investment. Like what we're doing, you're like, this is not that. This isn't what this channel is. It's just not. You're not going to really directly attribute a huge amount to it, but it can be super valuable. It can also be a nightmare. So I think it's like trade carefully and know what you're doing. It's probably the best tips for Reddit. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I was just going to say that similar like sort of tone is like Lily Ray kind of made some predictions of what she thinks the next like algorithm update is going to include. And one of the things that popped up that I'm very happy about is these listicles that include your brand, but perhaps don't include like your rival brand, for example, or in a certain way. And I think that's like, I really don't understand why they're so like, we've gone back to like listicles are the main source of truth for things. I mean, they can be manipulated so easily, and they are. And I've seen this in my own examples that I've seen. I'm not going to name anyone, but I have seen things of examples. I'm just like, I'm glad that could be on the hit list next time round. But the predictions are not like guaranteed anything. Laura, what was your kind of top story?
Yeah, so I've been reading a bit more lately about the possibility of like launching ads on certain platforms, and I've read on Search Engine Journal, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, was talking about whether ChatGPT might ever have ads. And this is something that I was thinking about for quite some time, mainly because I've been researching on my own time, sort of like ideas for weddings. I've recently got engaged, so I was like, oh, I've started to plan my wedding kind of thing. And I was like, I don't know what I want, sort of thing. I'm in that kind of stage where I'm like, I don't know what type of dress, I don't know what type of wedding and all that. And what I know is that I'm a huge geek and I'm into Lord of the Rings quite a lot. I know it's a bit cliche lately. Everyone's is doing what that kind of wedding, but I'm like, I don't care. So I was sort of referring to ChatGPT to kind of like help me, with a theme and a couple of ideas. And it started showing me wedding dresses, like with actual links, like recommending me like I was shopping for wedding dresses. And I was like, that's kind of strange. I'm obviously not monetizing this. Like it was actual product cards, not just the links, right? It was product cards. I could see the dress. And I was like, all right, cool. So what are they going to like add, a way to buy this directly, or are they going to start making money out of it? So yeah, when I saw this story, I was like, all right, cool. So it's happening. Now, obviously they didn't have a timeline for it. And they're trying to bash on Google Ads a bit because, I mean, yeah, why not? And they were basically saying that ads could also mean losing trust of your user, which I sort of get. And because they haven't really found a way to make ChatGPT sustainable without repeating the same mistakes as the rest of the world, they won't do it just yet. But it is they're starting slowly to serving advertising. So I'm like, when is that going to happen? How is it going to happen? How is that going to influence my SEO game? So yeah, I'm a bit like, what does that mean for SEO at the end of the day? Like if they're going to start advertising on ChatGPT, what do you guys think?
I think that they're going to do what you said. I think it's going to be a subtle introduction into the user journey. I think you're not going to recognize it much different from the results they're doing now, but like the subtle changes that you're saying now. I think ads are like, he's kind of changing his tune, if you want. And I've got a video about him later, actually. But Sam Altman, he's changing his tune a bit. Like in the past years, we're very like anti-ads and I hate them. I don't want to do them. He's changing his tune, and it just makes sense. They have to do it. They have to. There's no other way. They're not going to survive. So they're signing deals of all these, merchants and, PayPal and things like this. They're clearly like lining it up for that. And if you look in their sort of forecast for the next year or so, although it's not stated exactly, you can kind of see there's revenue being forecast through adverts. So although I don't exactly say that, I don't think it's kind of suggesting that there's going to be some form of advertising. So I see it like, the film Her with Joaquin Phoenix. I think that's kind of where we're going to go in the future. Is kind of like, they're going to subtly, I know it won't Her, although it was kind of similar, but Black Mirror, when it was kind of incorporated into their, like, the adverts would kind of just be, you'll be like looking at something and then suddenly an advert will like kind of come up and be relevant to like what you were just looking at, which obviously we know like phones listen to you anyway and you kind of see related ads, but it's going to get like even more on on that side of it. So yeah, I think it's inevitable, and like you say, they're probably already rolling it out to some degree to test the waters. But yeah, Harry, do you have any thoughts on that?
Have you seen, there was a couple of articles about this, but it was about the number of Facebook ad execs that ChatGPT or OpenAI had basically taken. So they paid them like insane money. I think they got something like 10 of the really senior Facebook ads guys to come over from Facebook to OpenAI, because like Sean said, they're making 15 billion a year or something, 20 billion a year. They've got a 300 billion pound contract with Oracle over the next, it's like they have no, at this point, I think what they probably thought was going to happen hasn't quite happened. Now they're like, okay, right, we need money, so we're going to run adverts. And I think it's probably going to be quite aggressive quite quickly, would be my guess, because they need a lot of money.
Ironically, though, like on Meta, they're offering, in the UK anyway, they're offering subscriptions without the ads. So if you don't want the Facebook ads, you can now pay for subscription to get rid of ads. So it's interesting, kind of switch. But yeah, Nick.
I can't see them not rolling out ads properly and quite aggressively, because, they need to fund their model, and I think it's getting quite expensive for them. But also, even from a user experience perspective, the way that you get served ads, it's not always disruptive to the user experience. Like sometimes it can be quite good. Like for example, when I'm on Instagram, I'm constantly being served ads for Christmas toys, and they're always toys that I know my son would love. And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. And it's like inspiring me. It's giving me ideas. But what does that mean for SEO? Well, when I see those ads pop up on Instagram, I would never just go and buy from a store that I haven't heard of. I then go and do my searches. I'm like, who is this brand? And also, could I get that product cheaper elsewhere? Could I get it on Amazon, for example? So I'll see the ads, and as long as it's targeted and it's something that I'm interested in, then I don't mind ads as long as they're not disruptive. And as I said, I wouldn't make a purchase personally unless I'd verified the brand, knew that it was trustworthy, and checked out the reviews too. Because, yeah, I think we've all been burnt in the past by making purchases online.
To be fair, though, like one thing they have got to improve if they're going to do it, like, because I was trying to test this out, and I was ready to kind of buy through ChatGPT in a way, because I was like trying to see how good it'd be, and I was looking at paint, not as exciting as like reviews or, but yeah, I'm looking at paint, and then when I clicked through to a couple of links, they were actually like broken or like links, and I noticed a thing. I think someone else reported this. They come sometimes just. I think it's on the video that I'm going to show later with Ryan Law from Hrefs. They just make them up sometimes. Like they make up things like URLs should be this if it was like, but they actually don't exist. They kind of just make them up, and then they're just a 404, and it's like, so they obviously have to work on that side of it if they want to push this kind of thing. So we get on to my story, and my story actually rolls on to this. It's quite a good segue there, but so Perplexity bets $400 million on Snapchat to scale AI search adoption. So this is the Search Engine Journal. So Perplexity will pay Snap $400 million over 1 year to integrate its AI answer engine into Snapchat. So starting early next year, Snapchatters, apparently that's what they're called, will be able to ask, Snapchat questions and receive, sourced conversational answers from Perplexity's model. And that will sit alongside their current sort of AI chatbot, apparently, which remains available as a separate assistant. So obviously, Perplexity have seen an opportunity there and taken advantage of it, but it's costing them $400 million to do so.
I was just going to say, mine's very quick. I was just going to say, I might be a bit long in the tooth, but like, who uses Snapchat? Who is the market now? Because it's not, unless there's like a very high age range of people that still use it. It's quite small. Or do like people still use it who are younger? I'm not really in this market.
Well, that's what I was thinking as well. Is it like maybe not the under 35s, maybe the under 25s? Maybe it's cool with them, because I don't know anyone that uses Snapchat. I'm not even sure how Snapchat works. Was it big and then died out, or has it just always been more popular with younger people? I don't know.
I like the fact that we're having this, that none of us know. Well, the European.
I'm actually ChatGPT in it right now.
No, you're ChatGPT. Yeah, okay. Here
I
we go.
really don't know
Sorry.
anyone who uses Snapchat. I was thinking about that, and I know Gen Zers. I'm a millennial myself. I don't know anyone who uses Snapchat. Perhaps it's not. Maybe some more localizing. Maybe it's used more in the US rather than the UK. No idea. But the only thing I have in my mind when I hear Snapchat is that filter. You know, the dog filter.
Oh,
with the
yeah.
tongue? Yeah, that is literally it. So, we're probably not the right audience to be talking about this.
Yeah, maybe it's popular in other markets, but we have seen, well, look at Google's deal with Apple. We know that, when those big tech companies, when they exchange money, can have a huge impact. But I don't know, I probably wouldn't have chosen Snapchat unless there's something that I'm missing. Maybe it's big enough.
Apparently, no, sorry, I was just going to say, yeah, I looked into it, and thanks to ChatGPT. And apparently, like in the UK, it reaches 90% of 13 to 24-year-olds and 75% of 13 to 34-year-olds. So obviously a very young demographic there, trying to target.
Do they use it? Do they care, or do they just use it like a little bit? That would be my. We're sort of getting a bit off topic here, I suppose. But that was my initial thought. But interesting. Maybe it is just the youth.
The youth of today, damn them. But another thing, though, is that aren't there advertising laws about advertising to like children? Because that like under 18, then you're a child. Surely that kind of puts limitations on to how they can make money there. Surely.
I don't know if they're trying to make money or they're trying to gather data or get that. I guess if you target them young and you kind of get them using Perplexity's model, when they grow up, Perplexity will be in their mind as the model to go to, right? It's hard to know, but Snapchatters apparently open the app on average 50 times a day, according to this bit of data. And and 70% use the AR lens daily. I don't even know what that is really, but it's obviously very like people who use it are very much into it, and it seems like it's got a decent audience. So yeah, it's just interesting, like the amount of money being thrown around this in this market now is like incredible. Like you say, with Apple, with Meta, with Anthropic, they're all throwing hundreds of millions of pounds at these integrations and partnerships.
Maybe it's a smart move, yeah. Maybe Perplexity have gone like, we're not winning this battle against ChatGPT AI mode. Maybe they won't listen. We write things off for a few years and we try and build on the next generation of users to get kind of a habit with them. Maybe it's a good idea.
You're not wrong. Like if you become top of mind for the younger generation, like they're going to be the next. Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe they've worked out, like say Google have got the older sort of audience. ChatGPT are doing their bit, but it's mainly Google. Maybe you get into the mindset in the future you will be the ones, and they've obviously got their own browser now and stuff. So yeah, interesting. Okay, I forgot the graphic on the last segment. Although Nick, did you have something to say? So
no, I was going to move on to the next segment. But I was also going to say that, that we're having this conversation, we're working SEO. There was that study that said that Google is for old people. So maybe we just don't understand the youth. That's the issue we're having here.
Fair news. So I forgot the graphic last time. So I will. Top videos is this one. So, Harry, start with you. Did you have a video this week, or did you skip it?
I did. No, I did. I made a special effort, Sean. I don't know why. It just never. I'm much more of like a written. That's always how I've enjoyed consuming stuff. That's a bit more like work and work specific. But I did. There was a cool one that Will Critchlow did, which from SearchPilot. I like Will. He was talking about what the next trillion searches look like in more of like here's where we are, here's what's happening, kind of like a preparatory sort of phase of being like, what's going to happen isn't going to look like the next 10 years isn't going to look like the last 10 years. So whatever we think about, whether it's search or whatever people want to call it, it's like, it is changing. And it's interesting to think about the level of personalization that comes in. I think if you have like Google, obviously Discover, YouTube, Discover particularly hyper-personalized engine, but even their searches are becoming pretty hyper-personalized. We're talking about personalization levels in LLMs and everything that comes with it, and needing kind of longer, more conversational searches, and thinking about what opportunities that brings up for brands, I suppose, and how you combat that. Right? It was just quite a short little pithy look at what we need to do to test, how we can try and control the variables, like how we can consider what this looks like and how we still generate value. I quite liked it. It was very short, and that piqued my interest as well.
Yeah, and we've had him on before on the channel. Very good, and yeah, just before Nick, sorry, I'll show clips of all the videos just after people speak.
Yeah, I was just going to say that no, it's true. The way people search is changing, and I think that kind of like goes hand in hand with that research. That study that was conducted, I flagged earlier, like indicating that CTRs going down because of the use of behavior, and also like there has been data released about how people search on large language models, where people aren't just putting in for example EastEnders anymore. It's like more long tail queries, more specific. So and that's why I kind of guess that kind of goes hand in hand with conversations within the SEO community about you're not optimizing for keywords as you were before. It's more about user intent, and what people are actually putting into search engines is changing. So something to pay attention to.
I suppose for us, we're trying to be less search specific and more audience first. And I do think that's kind of what all of this leans into. It's like understanding your audience more, knowing where they are, what they care about. Like hopefully you can create content that's a bit different, and it probably frees us up to do better stuff, which I hope is where we get to with a lot of these things, is that there's less of us all creating virtually exactly the same thing, and a bit more diversity on the internet can only be a good thing.
Harry, did he give any predictions then about how he thinks search is going to change over the next 10 years? I know mine, for example, is definitely getting more visual. Like if I'm looking for like best hotels or something, I want to see pictures of the hotel before I make it. That really influences my decision.
Not really, but more about the fact about how they were going to start planning to test all of this, and to start, I suppose, breaking out control groups and being like, I suppose, like really obvious things when people use LLMs versus Google would be like, if they're looking for a TV. Now it's like, a best TV for a couple living in a flat in this city who do this, this, and this. It becomes so hyper-personalized and specific that you can't possibly have that many different articles for everything. So I think there's probably something here where it becomes, for a lot of us, is a lot less article and content focused, just because the production time and costs are so high, and a lot more like tools and asset focus, and creating things that maybe allow us to scale programmatic content effectively that's really good, which is always the challenge.
Like Laura said, I think and that's always should have been the case, but obviously in our world, we're always, especially digital marketing, always focus on numbers, like high traffic numbers means success. But it's never really been like that, but it definitely doesn't mean that like now, like you have a shop, you have 100 people walk in and 2 people can buy, and it's like, well, one, it's actually used a lot of your resource because you actually have to deal with a lot, and actually you didn't get that much reward from it. Or you can have 2 people walk in, have the best experience and actually buy more than those other 2 people, and actually you've done a better job. You've used less resource, you've got more out of it. It's because they've had such a personalized, nice experience, and you've been able to do that. And obviously traffic's going to drop for everyone going forward, so every user now it's going to be like gold dust, and having that personalized experience and hopefully the personalized search results and everything are going to help feed into that. And I think generally, like, we will have a better online experience if done correctly, like you say, Harry, and there's going to be tons of AI slop and everything else on top that's going to combat that. But I'm hoping it's actually going to improve things.
I was thinking, so hearing everything, and obviously I haven't watched the video, but the first thing that pops into my mind is the way LLMs conduct deep dives, so deep research. And then the second thing I was thinking about is sort of how we create our audiences, and perhaps way forward, it is investing a bit more into how we create these audiences and how we serve the content, because it's not practically impossible to serve the right content to the right person. But when you got like such a big query fan out of like certain topics, it's hard to kind of know what they want in the moment. So I don't think you can do that with traditional search anyway, unless you've got like an amazing budget and you can produce so much content to like populate everything out there, which to be fair, it's probably not going to be as good as just investing into creating the right type of content to serve to an LLM, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. The way I see it is kind of like, if you've got like a long tail kind of question that it could require some deep dive where you provide reviews, you provide different product options, for example, and so on. I think the way forward would be to sort of try to think how would it pan out in a query fan or as a response in an LLM. Yeah, that's kind of my 2 pence about it.
Nice.
SEO is changing, and it's not just because of AI. With an explosion of trillions more searches a year, paragraph length or even conversation length queries, product search integration, and yeah, of course, AI sprinkles everywhere. It is harder than ever to know what truly works. But we can't keep playing fearful, reactive Jenga with the next 10 trillion searches. The very approach that protected our results when things were stable has left us completely unprepared for disruption. We need to understand things more clearly, invest more confidently, and empower our teams with the insights they need to succeed. On November 13th, we'll be showing what the next generation of enterprise e-commerce SEO testing looks like. Design smarter tests, get deeper insights, measure what matters, and integrate at scale. Join me at our virtual launch event to see what the next era of SEO testing looks like.
What was your video this week?
My video this week was by Glen Gabe, who is an SEO OG. If you don't follow him, definitely give him a follow. So he has released a video to accompany a blog post he wrote, which was titled Keyword Search and the Growing Importance of Developing Strong Core Visibility Systems. So what this video and his blog post explore, it kind of touches on the point you were making earlier, Sean, about how easy it is to get content ranking in AI search platforms like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude, but by using black hat methods that used to work back in the day. So invisible text that, you can't see on the screen, but the large language model can pick it up, cloaking content or, scaled content abuse. And I think on LinkedIn and on Twitter, there's lots of people talking about how easy it is to get visibility in AI search at the minute. And Glenn has basically addressed that and said, listen, don't do it. And he's somebody that everyone in the SEO community should be listening to. And I 100% agree with him, because it's an example of one of those things of, yeah, I'm sure all those people that are trying this, they are getting the traffic, but it's an example of something that works until it doesn't. It's spamming them, basically. What we're doing with these black hat SEO methods, we're spamming these AI search platforms. And do you really think they're not going to get on top of this at some point? Because at the minute, the reason that it's working is because those AI search platforms, they don't have anti-spam systems in place yet, but they are going to come. And when they do, because it's not an if, it is a when, they will come, your site will get nuked and it's going to cost your company a lot of money. So yes, you could do it if you're thinking about short term. I personally wouldn't. I suppose it depends on how much you want to help your company in the long term.
I think it's so stupid. Like, I don't get it. Like, when people see these things work, like these black hat or whatever, grey hat, whatever you want to call it, tactics, and then they go on LinkedIn or whatever, X, and start shouting about it. Do you not think, like you say, that Google and the likes are watching people talking about it and think they're going to shut it down in the next update? If you're going to do that, I would just sharp about it, do it in the back. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I'm not recommending it. But if you are going to do it, I would not. I would not start shouting about it on LinkedIn. I just think, I just don't understand that philosophy. You're trying to show off, but it's going to get you in the end, like you say. And people like John Mueller all over it when people start talking about things on LinkedIn and stuff. So yeah, it's interesting.
It's like but it's like when a drug dealer buys like a gold car, and a mansion, you're like, mate, this isn't it. You have to take the money and not talk about it. But it's too hard, I think. Some people just, I've got to show that it's that I'm rich and it's going well, which I suspect in lots of cases means they're not rich and it's not going well. If you've got to shout about it to that extent, so I always black hat, grey hat stuff super interesting. I always think. I think Google itself has quite a bad spam problem at the minute, anyway. But if you work for a proper brand or you work for an agency who works for proper brands, you just can't go down that route. But if you've got somebody who's building, you've got 100 sites, you're just refreshing new ones every day, you're spinning content constantly, you can afford to lose 30-40% of them. You work in those spaces where this stuff's right. Kind of fair game. Like you just do it and you just don't worry about it. But yeah, like if you're like us, you just don't have you don't have that option.
Very, very true. Nick, go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say, it wouldn't surprise me if at some point the AI search platforms at some point introduced an equivalent to a Google Core update. I just don't know when it will happen, but it will happen. And yeah, I personally wouldn't do that to any brands that I'm working with.
I was going to say they need to make some money first before they care about that. I reckon you've still got a couple of years minimum of doing whatever you want in these platforms and it'll work.
But also as well, that if you're taking that approach, that GEO approach, to get that visibility, you've then got to remember how much traffic large language models are actually driving to your site and how much traffic Google is driving to your site and what damage you're doing in the eyes of Google while trying to get visibility and ChatGPT or whatever platform.
True. Yeah, it'd keep us on track. Sorry, go on, Laura. Let's say your point and then obviously then talk about your video. Just trying to keep us on track so we're on schedule.
Yeah, no worries. I was just saying, use common sense. Like, honestly, like learn from the past and just don't do like dodgy stuff. It's as simple as that.
Just because you can game AI search platforms like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and others means you should do it, right? I mean, you won't get caught. Nothing will happen, right? Well, if we know anything from Google and Bing, things could happen, and it's not good. I'll be covering that topic and more in my podcast today. But before I begin, definitely subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future videos. Okay, today I'm going to be covering my most recent post. This podcast should have come out like last week, but things got in the way, so I'm recording it now. My post is titled AI Search and the Growing Importance of Developing Strong Core Visibility Systems, like core ranking systems, site-level quality scoring, and anti-spam systems. So this is not with Google and Bing necessarily. This is with AI search platforms like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and others. Because what's going on right now, and I keep hearing about it, I'm seeing it shared online, I'm hearing it from prospective clients, I'm hearing it from current clients who are hearing it, that basically, you can do all these tactics and suddenly rank in AI search and, basically cheating the system, right? It's kind of like spamming the AI search platforms. And that's a really bad idea because those AI search platforms are not going to stay where they are now. They're in their infancy. They're going to continue to build core visibility systems, I'm calling them, versus ranking. And they're going to build anti-spam systems. So just because you could do something now and rank does not mean you should do that. So if you are spamming the AI search platforms and they suddenly implement anti-spam systems and they keep continuing that, or building stronger core visibility systems, you could be hit by that, right? Just like an algorithm update from Google or Bing. So I fully expect that to happen. The AI search platforms are just in their infancy right now. So they are definitely going to continue to develop their systems to get rid of low quality content, people that are gaming the system, because they don't want their users to come across it. It's just like Google and Bing. If users come across low quality content that somehow got gamed into ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude, that's not good because users are going to be like, this is bad. And they can end up going back to Google or to Bing or to another AI search platform, which would be competing with ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini, and whatever. So that's definitely not something I would recommend doing.
So a bit of a non-conventional video. I'm not a very video type person. I don't know why. I mean, I watch movies and stuff, but very rarely watch videos. I recently saw the John Lewis Christmas advert. I think it was launched a couple of days ago. And it just it's just one of those adverts that you remember. It's humans being humans and sort of evoking those kind of like family closeness and celebration, and a bit nostalgic as well. And then I saw the Coca-Cola advert that was launched the other day that was completely AI generated with like wooden animals and the Coca-Cola track and all that. And what I've noticed that it actually has in the title on YouTube completely AI generated. And I was like, how does that make me feel? Like, I don't know how I feel about it. So I was curious to sort of talk to other people about it. Like when you see like completely, fully AI generated like Christmas ads by Coca-Cola, which obviously is something that we would have grown up with. Like, what's that say about us? Like, I don't get it. Help me out.
Well, when we say completely AI generated, did we mean AI generated the script or it just made the visuals?
I don't know. That's not
It was just used to make the visuals, then how's that different to something like Toy Story, for example?
like yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But if it wrote the script and everything, then that's the bit, I don't know. But then at the same time, I haven't seen the Coca-Cola advert, but at the same time, I didn't overly rate the John Lewis advert this year. So maybe AI would have done better. It'll be good to compare the two.
It's very generic. So I'm not going to lie. It's extremely generic. Like, you know how you had the, back in the day, you had the polar bear, right? The classic ad with the Coca-Cola bottle. And obviously it was an animation. And we all knew we were watching an animation. So obviously we knew someone was behind it, creating all that for you, including the script, including the visuals and everything. But when you see a Coca-Cola advert launch in 2025, where we're all experiencing AI fatigue, some of us are very AI skeptical, you know, it's bombarding us from all directions. And you see something like this in brackets, you know, on a Christmas generated campaign, you're there like, who really made this? So yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it.
The spirit of Christmas, right? Coca-Cola being a company, I suspect, don't need to save any fucking money on by firing a load of people to use AI to make a terrible video. I did see someone posted a little clip of or a little still of it, and it was in the truck that was driving didn't have a driver. So it was just driving down the road that they just forgot to put the driver in, I guess. But it was quite dark, so you couldn't really see it. Someone zoomed in and was like, "This is so stupid." So I quite like that.
Self-driving, isn't it? We're not going to have truck drivers in future.
Is it self-driving? Oh God!
But at the same time, with Coca-Cola, with Christmas, I think the important aspect is nostalgia. So they just need to keep that same bloody Christmas lorry, that, you know, that Christmas Coca-Cola Christmas. That's all they need. Just play the same advert every year. We'd be happy with that. You don't need to change it.
Yeah, that's true. Why did Coke do a Christmas advert anyway? I think anyone would buy more Coke for Christmas. Like, I know it's tradition.
I think they were one of the first ones, weren't they? Like back in the 50s or the 60s, they were one of the first ones to do a commercial Christmas ad, and they sort of kept.
Is that why?
Yeah, it's like traditional. That's sort of, I suppose, positioning in that sense. But it's just me thinking that they actually haven't paid anyone to do this. I'm a bit like, how's your creative team feeling about it? Like,
yes.
Well, they paid OpenAI or something, so I guess that's
yeah.
Thank God.
But that's the thing, isn't it? I don't know. It's just greed. I mean, like football teams, like they have a nice kit, and then next season they've got to launch 4 more kits, like slightly different to the year before, hardly any difference. They move a little more line of white or something. Like, it's just greed. Like, you know, Amazon are going to sack all their staff for AI because it's greed, not because they need to, really. I'll get onto my video because we've got to get on the socials, but my video is just, I'd mentioned it earlier, but it's from Ryan Law from Hrevs, and basically how to win in AI search. And what I liked about this, obviously being a lot of, you know, people having their opinions on it, but him and his team carried out like a large study on AI search and backed by millions of data points to understand what actually works in like answer engine optimization. And yeah, it's just really good. Like Ryan was very like, you know, neutral on it, very like seeing it from both sides, not getting carried away, obviously being very like careful on what you recommended because no one really has all the answers yet. It's just really good.
Is exploding, and it's happening way faster than anyone thought. Think about this. ChatGPT alone gets over 2.5 billion prompts every single day. And allegedly, visitors from ChatGPT are converting much better than those coming from Google. It feels like a gold rush, right? No wonder your feed is suddenly full of people who want to teach you how to show up in ChatGPT. But can you trust these people? Are they credible? You never know. That's why I brought in Ryan Law, our very own director of content marketing at Ahrefs. Ryan and his team have carried out some of the largest studies on AI search, backed by millions of data points we've collected. And he is about to share the most actionable takeaways from these studies. You're about to learn what actually works when it comes to showing up in AI search. In other words, if you've been waiting for a credible guide to answer engine optimization, this is it. So keep listening and don't forget to hit like if you want more episodes like this one.
Ahrefs Podcast.
Hey Ryan, back on the podcast.
Yes.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's going very, very good. Yeah, I must have done a good job last time to be invited back.
So the idea behind this episode, as we already discussed with you, AI search is all the hype in our industry right now, understandably, because AI chatbots are gaining more and more traction, more and more people are using them. So as marketers, we want to know how to show up in those AI chatbots. And you and your team, including our data scientists from Ahrefs, have completed a lot of research studies, studying what is happening in AI search, which metrics correlate with which metrics, how it is similar, how it is different from conventional search, and all that. And we've been publishing dozens of studies for the past 6 to 8 months on Ahrefs blog, and we were sharing some of these snippets on LinkedIn. And I thought it would be a good idea to collate everything we know about AI search, kind of proven data-driven information, not just opinions and such, into one podcast episode, which is why I ask you to prepare everything we've published on the Ahrefs blog so far, everything meaningful, maybe not everything, but everything that people or marketers or SEO professionals need to know as of today.
And then I'll just also just quickly mention the other one, because it was by a YouTube channel called Species, and they recently did a really good video around AI. But this one was about Sam Altman and just his history of what he's been saying and doing. I've shown on this channel before, his interviews and things he said. I don't trust him too much. I'm not going to lie. I think he's very contradicting. And the fact that we have to rely on people like Sam Altman, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk for basically creating the future of this earth and our species is quite scary, to be fair, in my opinion. But anyway, we won't go too far down the rabbit hole. But yeah, so it's the
worst pacemakers possible. Like, just terrible. But never mind.
Yeah, it is worrying.
Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, has built a doomsday bunker. It's buried and hidden in the Navajo Desert. It's stocked with antibiotics, a hydroponic food system, and weapons. This is the same man racing to build artificial general intelligence, while now telling the world it's perfectly safe. So why prepare for catastrophe? To find out, I went through practically every interview, essay, podcast, panel, and speech he's ever given. Very few people know that in 2017, before he was in the spotlight and years before ChatGPT, Altman published blog posts with a chilling theory that directly contradicts what he says today. He wrote that the AI species he's creating will, in fact, lead to the end of the world as we know it. And his utopian vision is that we will be effectively assimilated into an AI-powered hive mind. And his old posts get even crazier. If there are two versions of Altman, one who reassures the public and one who prepares for the worst, which one should we believe? And what I found while digging wasn't just a single contradiction. It was a pattern.
But yeah, we're going to socials because I want to make sure we're on time. And so top socials, I think there's some good ones. So Nick, start with you. What did you have for this week?
Yeah, there was something that really interested me on LinkedIn because you know that within the SEO community, there's this whole GEO versus SEO debate. Well, this guy called Benjamin Hoyoy, I'm sorry if I haven't pronounced that correctly, he posted on LinkedIn that he's closing down his GEO tool called Lawlight. And the reason for that isn't because people weren't signing up for it. People were really interested in the tool because what it helps people do is business improve visibility in large language models like ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity. The issue was people were signing up, but once they'd signed up, they weren't very overly impressed by the optimization advice that they were being given by the tool because it sounded very familiar. So, for example, quality content, mentions in authoritative publications, strong reputation, genuine expertise is the same as SEO. So although people were really interested and wanted to sign up at first, they were quickly losing interest because according to his clients that it was the same as SEO. So I thought was really cool. He was very open about this because obviously the tool is a way for him to make money. So for him to just publicly say, look, there's no difference, I'm going to close down this tool. I thought that was a really interesting contribution to the whole GEO versus SEO debate.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm sure the likes of Andrew Holland might have something to say on that. But it's interesting. And Harry, what was your one for this week?
Well, one of them was Will Reynolds' post about dropping which Nick has stolen. So I'll do the other one. Luckily, there was a second one, Sean, because yours to get to. There's Mark Williams-Cook posted something that I think John Mueller had originally done, which was if you use cloud providers for your assets. So if you have like hosting images or videos on like a cloud provided cloud server, you can verify it in Search Console. So if any of you work on like Nick does, right? If you work on enterprise SEO, like actually, the more you do it, the more you realize that having the most granular Search Console setup possible is great. And someone like who built Indexing Insights, Adam Gent, which is a really cool tool. But the more properties you have, the better indexation, the better understanding you have of your indexation. You can use the API to generate 2,000 indexation URLs a day. If you do that for one domain property, you just get 2,000. If you have 100 properties, you get 200,000. But I really like one thing that we've been working on a lot is the idea of just breaking down everything in Search Console into a really granular, specific either subdomain or subfolder. The subfolder approach for us just being like Telegraph /money /pension /state pension, and really getting a really clear understanding of indexation at a more granular level, which you can do with images too. But I think that's such a good, useful tip that's like really straightforward for SEO for big sites. Like just the more you use this, the better you're able to understand how your site is indexed and like the quality signals across the board. If you have a huge number of crawled not indexed in certain pages, like certain areas, you know there's a bit of a problem there. So I think that's always really useful.
Yeah, I heard something about that at Brighton SEO as well. Yeah, it's on my to-do list. It's in my homework list for sure. But yeah, I'm going to definitely read up on that, what you're saying. Laura, what was your one for this week?
Funnily enough, I nearly spoke about the same post. Like that was why I written it. Yeah. No, it's funny because I know a friend of mine who works in SEO, Roxana. Like she works in image search quite a lot, and I know she's been doing this for a very long time. When I saw the post from Mark, obviously reposted from John Mueller's Blue Sky, I think, and I was like, I think this is my sign to start doing that. I don't know why I haven't done it before. So yeah. Anyway. Moving on to another post by Mark, for some reason, he shared this interesting clarification on how LLMs perform search and the difference between grounding and query fan. Like I obviously thought about it, and it's quite clear the difference between it if you really think about it. But it was kind of nice to see it written somewhere and sort of reinforce that in my brain. He basically explained that grounding refers to the searches an LLM will perform to verify or support a specific prompt. So that it's essentially just fact checking you. So it's not going to be as deep. Whereas in contrast, you have query Fanout, which he calls deep research mode. So you draw through a lot of like resources in order to kind of map the broader context of the topic. And I thought about an example of how to like make the differentiation between the two. And I said, let's say I'm an LLM called Low AI. When I talk about grounding, I mean keeping that narrow, that things narrow and structured. So say you ask me, what is the most recent Google algorithm update? I'm going to go on, the Google official blog, or sometimes I'm going to go on like a SEO specific website to verify the date and the details. So when does it start? When does it end? And any other details that might be given over there. So I'm fact checking it. I'm trusting it. And then when I'm talking about query Fanout, I can ask myself, I ask Low AI, how have Google's algorithm updates over the years? I'll go and sort of like draw from different sources, and I'm going to go broad to build that topic around it and understand the context a little bit better. So yeah, that's kind of how I see it. And I thought it'd be quite interesting for SEOs to kind of like make the differentiation between the two if they don't already do it, just because it'll help us sort of understand how it works and serve the right kind of like intent. Yeah, and that was it from me.
Interesting. I'm going to release a blog soon, hopefully. I've done some internal data research. It's kind of similar thing, but, different slightly. But looking at citation sort of patterns and trends, and I was focused on this. I did all of them, the main big ones, but focused on ChatGPT and Perplexity. And what was really interesting in my field, obviously, like medical and health and stuff. ChatGPT, like really... they had like more citations, but from less sources. So they used a smaller set of sources, where Perplexity did like less citations, but from a wider range of sources. So they kind of went a bit further afield into like not the mainstream ones like ChatGPT did. So I thought that was really interesting. Like the more you look into things, like the patterns and the way they are different. Like these different models and stuff, but it's good to see, like you say, the mechanisms behind it. And Mark is really good at that. I've always pushed this one, but Mark has like a Spotify playlist or channel, whatever. It talks all this sort of patterns that Google keep putting forward, and it's really, really interesting to get under the hood and see how these things work. And Mark's fantastic at doing that kind of thing. So it's a good call up.
A shout out to Search with Candor. Woo!
Oh my goodness, I love that, and I love Mark as well. But did you know this podcast about the Google patents? They're the presenters are AI.
Yeah, which is which is a problem, because I tried that a bit and they all got removed. Like I talked last week about Spotify removing spam content. I don't know if his has been taken down or whatnot, but it's kind of like to get rid of that and just keep the human based stuff. But it's a shame actually, because even though they are AI, I like them. I think they're good episodes.
Yeah, like the way that they talk and everything is so human like. I was really shocked until I heard some other podcasts that had the same presenters. Oh God, they're everywhere, these guys.
I use them, and they're getting so ridiculously realistic now. Like, like we do, like talk over each other, kind of like, make little subtle mistakes and stuff. They're doing that. Like I'm listening to it. I'm like, how the hell are you incorporating that into it? Like stuttering, like it's crazy.
So wait, we've started to build robots that become so good they just start making mistakes. They're like so human that they started fucking things up. That's quite good.
That's what Google's doing.
That's fine.
It's letting spam content in because it's trying to replicate. Our discovering a robot is so human-like. We're just letting spam content into the feed. Lol.
It's like all the driverless cars driving through red lights. It was like, no, you're not supposed to. I quite like that. It does. As long as I don't get hit by one, it's funny.
I don't know if you saw that video. I saw a video of we're going off topic, but I thought it's actually really interesting. There's a guy in America. He was in a self-driving car. Don't know if it's a Tesla or what, but it was, and literally it got stuck. It malfunctioned. So in America they have the big highways, and they have the big blocks of some concrete in between. It's scraping against that. And the guy was in it, like the guy was in the car praying because he couldn't do anything. The car was totally out of control and speeding. And then when the thing stopped, it literally went straight into another car because it just couldn't. I don't know what happened, but literally that's the kind of issue, I guess. You give full power to the technology, and things like that happen, and it could be deadly. But anyway, I try and go away from that somber note. We don't want to finish on that. I will say my social post. So a good one, and pick up the spirits a bit. But from someone who had on the channel, he's going to come back on, is Nick Leroy, who owns SEOjobs.com, and he was just reporting that actually he's received more job opening submissions last month than any the previous 2 to 3 months. So I think, obviously I report on it quite a lot. AI is taking our jobs and real screw, but actually there seems to be people submitting SEO jobs, and there is jobs out there in SEO anyway. So I thought that was interesting. And one that just dropped last night that was really interesting, and obviously a big tool that everyone's talking about, Profound. Nick Lafferty, who was at Brighton SEO, he just dropped that they're introducing Profound Indexed, which is like a public data set of the most visible brands in AI search, and it's going to be refreshed weekly and grounded by our prompt volumes data, he said. So yeah, basically it's just like people are saying it's like a Google Trends or whatever, but with AI, and they're kind of going to make this public, this data set. And they're saying they're going to map out the landscape for each industry, track brand mentions, calculate visibility scores, and that's going to be all publicly available through Profound. So, yeah, interesting, I thought.
Yeah, they've got an event actually on the 19th of November, Profound, for anyone interested in learning more about that. Not that I'm promoting the tool, but I'm going. They're talking about zero-click search, so kind of relevant, just a tad.
Yeah. I do quite like, I think a lot of these tools just have massive limitations or are grossly expensive. And I think all of the tools fit into that same bracket, to be honest. But I think what Profound have done really well is the marketing side of things, they've really nailed, which I really like. They got in early. The tool is good and it looks great. It's very clean and sophisticated. It does, but is limited by what it is and what they all are. But they've done such a good job with the marketing collateral and getting themselves out there and having people who you're I remember the names of who these guys are. I think they've really nailed that part.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just a push events, I think next week, and Mark Williams Cook and Lily Ray are doing an event. So search for that. I'll try and put a description in the link in the description, but it should be a good one. And last push for because it's, it's our channel, so I can do this. But I just recently had a video I launched, put live with Tom Capper from Moz, all around AI and AI search and stuff. So obviously, check that one out, and got loads of really cool ones coming up. And obviously we're going to continue to do this weekly. So yeah, thanks for joining me today, all of you. I really appreciate it.
That's been fun. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thanks.